Screen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Coach's Corner. Hopefully,
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. You know, we've been doing, I don't know, this is probably 15
yeah.
15 weekends in a row, providing tremendous value and amazing conversation. And today is a massive one. This one, we're going to step on some toes in a good way, because this is what you need and this is what you attracted, right? So my name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified Bob Proctor coach. My brand is Believe in the Unseen. It's all about believing in yourself and believing in that dream that's for you, and I help guide you to that. My purpose basically is to reveal the potential that's already there and guide you to your truest desires. So I'm in Maryland, and I'm going to pass it on to my amazing colleague, Alicia.
Hello, Alicia Espinosa here, and I'm helping people to create a life from the inside out, and also helping leaders build sustainable leadership, and so they can excel without burning out. And I am from Sweden, and I also certify. Oh no, I am not from Sweden. I am living in Sweden, but I am from Panama, living in Sweden, and I say, hey, come on, Lou. I was like, I forgot what I wanted to say. So, Lou, please.
It'll come back to you. No worries. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, whether you're catching us live or catching the replay. So my name is Lou Parica. I, too, am a success mindset coach. And what I do is I coach growth-minded women who just want more out of life without guilt, without the hustle and grind. I help them shift the way they think, break free from limiting beliefs so they can step into their power and really create the results that they want in all areas of their life. Take it, Paul.
Wow. Yes, good morning and good afternoon if I'm talking to Alicia. My name is Paul Wooters. I'm from Burlington, Ontario, Proctor Gallagher consultant, mindset success coach. I like to encourage people to live to their greatest possibilities, and using this material, I help improve their lives, which uses science and psychology to help them reach and achieve their most elusive personal and professional goals. And I'm going to hand it back to Jamel.
All right. You know what I was just thinking about as I was drinking some water here? Whenever I have my Star Wars mug, there's a different energy happening, you know? And I realized that. So anyway, this is going to be a very powerful call. I know Alicia is ready to discuss this, you know. So this is something so important. It is the key to freedom. And we're going to explain it in great depth, I know for sure here. But before we get into that depth, feel free to comment, drop some questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. You know, this is, I love these conversations. I love speaking with my colleagues and providing value, but this is for you. And nothing happens until you take an action. Nothing happens. And that is the force. May the force be with you. All right. For my Star Wars fans that got that. So, what are we talking about today? Taking responsibility. Remember, I said take action. So I'm not even going to have an opening question. I'm going to pass it to Paul and see, Paul wants to open up with something about responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jamel. This is a really, as you said, it's such a powerful lesson, responsibility, because so often we just kind of wish, someone else was responsible for that. And it's one thing to delegate duties if you're in a corporate setting or a business setting or even a family setting. Different people have different, you delegate responsibilities perhaps, but the fact that when we take on responsibilities, it seems like we're adding weight and a burden to ourselves. So sometimes I think a lot of people would rather kind of push it away. And the thing about this lesson that's so powerful is that when you take responsibility, it's actually very freeing. It lifts the burden, and it doesn't seem that way on the surface to most people. Taking on responsibility means an added burden, but really it is so freeing, because when you give responsibility to someone else, then you are building, as it says in this article, like you are building yourself a mental prison, because you're allowing the outside circumstances, you're allowing someone else to decide what's going to happen. And you are just left thinking, okay, I just hope something good is going to happen. I hope something good is going to come to me. And you're not taking responsibility at all. And Jamel opened up with, saying, if you're listening to this, drop some comments, because nothing's going to happen until you take action. So you are responsible for your actions, and you're responsible for your results. And, some people so often like to say, I'm not responsible for all my results. It's him or it's her, or it's this situation, or it's this circumstance. But when we really learn to take on that responsibility, it's actually so liberating.
Yeah.
I know Lou is so anxious to hop in here. So I'm going to hand it over to Lou.
Okay, yes, thank you, Paul. We're just speaking truth here, right? And so what we've been doing over these weeks is going over some of the things that we have learned and have been sharing with you in these past 3 weeks. We started with the article decision, which to me, nothing happens until you make a decision. And last week we talked about persistence, and this week is about responsibility. These are small little articles that we've read, but they have definitely changed our lives. And I remember when Bob said, "You are the only problem, oh, and you are the only solution." I didn't want to hear that. And I often share this. I didn't want to take full responsibility. I wanted to be able to blame other people just a little bit, not 100%, but just a little. If I could blame my husband, if I could blame the market, if I could blame my kids, if I could blame the economy, if I could blame the government, anybody, I'll take some, but they have to take some as well. And then I realized it wasn't until I accepted taking full responsibility, it truly was a game changer for me. I realized that everything that I have experienced in my life was because of me. Even though there's outside circumstances, condition, and events, but it's how I respond to them. I may not be responsible for an event per se, but I am responsible on how I respond to it. And that truly is, just like Paul says, is extremely liberating. It doesn't matter for me now what really goes on. I know I am the one who gets to choose how to respond. And it's only my responsibility. And I wanted to read the first paragraph in the responsibility article, and let us know if you'd like to receive these articles. They're only a couple of pages long. They're not very long. But this paragraph, the opening paragraph, oh, great. Thank you, Jamel.
You're welcome.
Responsibility is a choice, and it truly is the key to freedom. Your future can be everything you have ever dreamed about and then some. You have the talent and tools to experience one beautiful day after another. I know that used to sound like a joke to me, right? But this is so important. That is, in fact, what the architect of the universe had in mind for you when you were created. If that was not so, you would never have been endowed with such awesome powers. And these are the powers that we've been discussing over the past 15 weeks. We've been trying to expand people's level of awareness to have them truly understand how powerful they are and the powers that they have to actually create their life. So this article, I highly recommend, if you're watching it or catching the replay, that you reach out to one of us to have us send you this. It's really fantastic. Alicia, so I just wanted to talk about that first paragraph. Alicia.
Yeah. So for me, I love the responsibility, because this is the success principle number one, is taking 100% responsibility for our life. And, I had a workshop once many years ago, and I always, after the values and so, I talk always about the responsibility. And, it's not like taking responsibility for other people's things, but it's like we need to take responsibility for our own life. And I had this workshop, and some of the people there, they were so angry because I told them that responsibility is success principle number one. We learn as from Jack Canfield. It's like the success principle number one is responsibility. And it's not taking responsibility for two other people, or what is the two and four? I don't, in English, I cannot the differentiation. But it's like knowing that, putting all my energy in what I can have control, not everything else, because I cannot have responsibility for what other people do, but it's me, how I'm reacting or responding to something that happened to me or for me. Something, why this is happening to me, but it's almost more like for me. And we cannot always be responsible for all the circumstances, but we are 100% responsibility for our response. And sometimes our response are very, very low. We let our feelings come in first, and then the response is not response. We are reacting about things that happen. Are you with me? So for me, it's like responsibility is the ability to respond something that happened to us. Response able. I am response able to what happened around me. And this is what so I was talking to my son, and I told him that if you understand that you are responsible for everything that happened to you, then you will be free, because you don't need to blame and complain to other people. It is everything in your hand, And it is with everything. I teach my clients that your happiness is here in your hand, not in whatever you think. When I get this new job, or when I get this new partner, or it's in your hand when you take responsibility for that.
Mm.
Yeah, this particular topic, and Alicia, that I love that. It's so important to understand what responsibility is, right? And I'm just going to share again the screen here to kind of hammer home what is being shared here so you understand. First of all, responsibility is a choice. That's a very powerful thing to pay attention to. And it truly is the key to freedom. So, what does that mean? You have to choose responsibility. You make a choice to be responsible for every result in your life. Not only monetarily, how much money you have or success that you have, but also responsible for your own feelings.
Mhm.
This is the freedom that you're seeking. So, if you go down here, speaking of freedom, blaming others causes, and this is what we're all kind of
Mm.
speaking about, blaming others causes a person to remain bound in a prison of their own making. When you take responsibility, blame is eliminated and you are free to grow.
Yeah.
This is the freedom we're talking about. You want to grow. And if you constantly put all of your energy outside of yourself, oh, the economy, oh, the president, that's a big one, right? Oh, right. Oh, I don't have, this keeps my time. All these excuses. This is why you got to be very reflective, very vulnerable, and stop blaming everything outside yourself. So when you blame other people, other circumstances, you're depleting your power.
Mhm.
You are the center of divine operation. This is why I get so excited about this, because once you understand and become responsible for everything in your life, that's the freedom right there. It's my fault because, whatever happened, if you own your own company, or own business, someone didn't do a certain thing, take responsibility. This is pivoting off a little bit what Alicia was sharing, but it's still your company, right? So it doesn't mean that, you can, I wouldn't say blame another person, but it's still your company. So you would have to have a conversation with them if they didn't perform a certain way. Remember, the buck stops here, right? It doesn't mean that it's their fault, it's the economy's fault or a competitor's fault. This is you. It's an extension of you, right? When you look at it that way. But blaming others and anything outside of you it's the easy way out. And you know where that comes from now that I think about it? It's just conditioning. A lot of us have been conditioned to not take responsibility for our lives and our results. It's very powerful when you think about that, because you become so used to doing that. And this is the paradigm that we discussed in great detail. It feels comfortable doing that when you're not taking responsibility for whatever that you want to achieve. Anybody want to speak on that? I can go on and on about that, but it's so
No, I
important.
love that, Jamel, and I love that Alicia brought up Jack Canfield, because I trained with Jack Canfield as well, and I just happened to have like his book. Oh, you can't see it, but his book on my desk.
That invisible book.
Yeah, so that was my prop. But yeah, it's funny that Jamel said, the buck stops here, because in that first chapter of Jack Canfield, there's a cartoon when people that like to blame other things, right? There's a cartoon and it says the buck picks up speed here, right? When we want to shove the blame somewhere else, to other circumstances, to somebody else or something like that. And there's a quote by Wayne Dyer right before it, and it says blame is a waste of time. It doesn't matter how much you find fault with another person or the situation, it doesn't change you. And Jamel touched on the choice, and the power to choose is our greatest power. We have the power to choose, right? So we're the ones who accepted the job. We're the ones who left the job. We're the ones who chose to believe. We chose to ignore this. We chose to do whatever. And we have to take personal responsibility. We can't change the circumstances. We can't change the seasons, or as Jim Rohn says, we can't change the seasons, the circumstances, or the wind, but you can change yourself.
Yeah.
You can change yourself. But the power, you have three things that you have total control over, and it's the power to think, right? The power, your thoughts. You are completely in control of your thoughts, the things that you imagine, the things that you visualize in your mind. You have complete control over that. And you have complete control over the actions you take.
Yes.
So those things, you are completely in control of those three things. And when you do that, and you give up making excuses, and you stop blaming, which just seems like the easy way out. And I can relate to what Alicia said, because I was talking about this, and this was a while ago, and someone was so adamant. No, I don't have the power to. I don't have the power to choose because, these things happen, and I didn't expect this person to get sick, or I didn't expect this, or the loss of this. But we all chose, and there are consequences to our choices, right? So as Lou said earlier, we can't control the circumstances out there, but we chose to get into this situation. We chose this job. We chose to drive down this road today. We chose whatever. So there are consequences to those choices. And yes, we can't control those circumstances, but we made the choice to put ourselves in that situation. So you know what? We don't like it. So change your mind, change an idea, change your action. We've heard this before. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. How are you going to get a different result with the same action? So it's all about our choice. It's about our thinking, and we have to choose. And it really is freeing. It really is liberating. It really is. You really realize that you can achieve and have and create the life you really want when you decide that you're going to take responsibility. That's my own rant.
Yeah, I can say about this, the blaming and complaining. So this book, The Complaining Free World, and he talked there, Will I don't remember the surname, but it's Bill Will, and he talked about that when we blame and complain is because there are 5 different things why we complain and blame. Of course, it's not taking responsibility, and the one is to get attention. We want people to get attention, so we complain all the time. And people, I don't know if you go to a corporation and people are like, oh, but this is no good, and that they complain all the time. It's because they want to get attention. And the second one is just to remove responsibility, because you don't want to assume this responsibility where that you are there where you are because you are letting things go, or for example, if something, as we said before, not 100% that we can affect what happened in our environment, but how I respond is my 100% responsibility. So this is one of the things that I think that a lot of people don't, and I have been there. Sometimes I'm like, if it doesn't want for that, and I say, come on, Alice, take responsibility. It's you have allowed this to. I didn't put boundaries, and of course people will do whatever. So we need to set boundaries. For example, it's like here but not more, so it's like, so yeah.
So I'm going to touch upon what I've been realizing and what I've been noticing more and more is the story or the meaning that we give everything. Whether it's a person, it doesn't matter what it is, the circumstance. And we're all going to have different meanings and different stories. And I remember reading once, it's never the person, it's the story or the meaning that you're giving the person. And that's our responsibility to decide, geez, do I want to believe that story that I'm giving that person? Maybe if I change my perception on them, my perspective about them. So think about, like, there could be a real not so nice person, okay? And the majority of people do not like this particular person. Well, we've created some story about this person. Now, there may be facts that back it up, but there are other people in this person's life, perhaps, that see this person differently. They've given this person another story, another meaning. And you can put this on events, circumstances, and conditions. And you will always hear us say, everything just is.
Yeah.
It just is. It is the story and the meaning that we're giving something. But again, this is our choice, as Paul mentioned. We have a choice, we have a decision, and we're the ones that need to take responsibility for what it is that we believe. Do we even question our beliefs? Do we reevaluate our beliefs once we do question them? Say, why do I believe this thing? Is it true? Can I think differently about this person, this event, this circumstance? Maybe I can. Maybe I can gather different facts. Maybe I can gather different opinions and create a new story, a new meaning. But it's our responsibility to do that. You can just follow the sheep wherever they may lead, or you can create your own path. But it's taking the responsibility to give something or someone a different meaning, a different story, but it's up to us. We can continue. I was listening to an audio book, and the woman and the character, her husband died, and she's talking to the husband's best friend, and she's explaining her meaning that she gave her husband. Oh, he was this, he was that, he was that. But his best friend, he understood a lot of that, but he saw him a different way. And the children saw the father a different way. So everyone's giving someone or something own meaning in their own story. And that includes ourselves as well. What meaning, what story are we giving ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
We have the power to choose a new meaning and a new story, but it's our responsibility to do that.
I love it. Awesome, Lou. You sparked so many ideas. So to kind of, re-emphasize, Lou mentioned something very powerful there. She said sheep. Are you the sheep that just, being herded around without taking responsibility? So this quote, Dr. Rollo May, a distinguished psychiatrist, once wrote, "The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is conformity." I told you today is going to be very powerful for all of those that are conforming to whatever their environment's telling them, right? And are you allowing that to, smother your responsibility? One of your greatest gifts is responsibility. And there's something here as well that, could easily be overlooked. Notice this: the people we have the greatest respect for are those who have accepted responsibility for every aspect of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So think about the people that you admire in whatever field. I'm sure every one of us here admire Bob Proctor, right? So imagine if Bob didn't take responsibility for himself.
Mm-hmm.
and for his business and the impact he had on millions of people. Right? So think of anyone you have the greatest respect for. That person had to embody responsibility. So you can incorporate that in your life to create your future. And it also says here, when a person refuses to accept responsibility for their life, they reject their uniqueness. Wow. They reject their uniqueness and they turn all of their power over to other people, situations, or circumstances. They are then no longer in control of their future. When you refuse to accept responsibility, you're no longer in control of your future. I'm sure everyone that's watching this wants to control their future and not let the world just control you. Mm-hmm. This is where responsibility really comes home. And it says, when you accept responsibility for your life and for the results which you alone determine, you will develop confidence. Here it is right here. You will develop confidence that your dreams can be realized, that your plans can be carried out. So you're developing a confidence you never had before when you accept the responsibility for your life and all your results. So you develop, and with confidence, we know what that is. You develop a stronger self-image. You become unstoppable. Mm-hmm. This is why this is a key to your freedom. And it's very easy to not take responsibility. Most do it, that's cowardice, right? And of course, you're letting go your true gift. You're another one of your powers. So I just wanted to point out a few of those things, because you can look outside yourself and see responsibility. You respect that person, and you might not even know it. Like, I respect that person. I don't know why. I'm sure responsibility. They've taken responsibility for their goals, for getting uncomfortable, for being committed, disciplined, loving themselves, not allowing other things outside themselves, control them. So they maybe even unconsciously became responsible, right? But now you're getting this awareness. And that's why mentorship is essential. When you really look at yourself and you're like, you know what? I didn't take responsibility for any of that. And then you start to see yourself different and you can see other people different. And this is how you can shift your future to whatever you want. Yeah. So I know that was a mouthful there.
I wanted to go also. I wanted to say something about the comparison. Is for me is comparison. We talk about or I have my way of see the world. This is my frame, how I see the world. And then I go to it and compare me with somebody else. And then I say, oh, I should live my life like this person. But the thing is that we don't know their frame of life. It's why it's so important to know, your frame of life and follow your frame. And of course, when you listen to other people, you will learn from them and your frame will expand. But to go and compare yourself to others, it's like drinking poison and waiting somebody else die. It's like, it's not so good. It's not good for your health. And then you say, when you compare, you say, I should do like that person, is telling my values or my frame is not so good. The other persons are better. It's no, you are killing your own. We talked before about the hero in us, that we are heroes. I have all my problems here. So yes, but I want to go back to what Lewis said, that the if something happens, it is. It's not positive, it's not negative, it just is. And then I put here that the meaning will give them the perception that we decide that my perception is that this is bad, or my perception is that this is good, it will cause your feelings to come. And an example for why is the information that come to us is positive or negative. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's just is. If I told you an apple. So when I tell you about an apple, what do you think about apple? Jamel?
Happy.
Happy? Lou?
Juicy, refreshing, sweet, yeah, sour.
Paul?
Healthy. Health. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say it is dangerous. And why? Because my perception of this is negative. So the same information come to us, but because we'll give them a meaning, different meanings, we'll see different things. I am allergic to apple, so I cannot eat apple. So my perception of apple is negative, but the perception of Lou and Jamal and Paul is positive. The information is the same, but the interpretation that we give is different.
Yeah.
So it's why we need to think if something happened, it's like no positive, no negative, it's just an event. And then because I perceive something, I can react or I can respond. And the outcome will be in the level of what I choose. If I choose to react and or okay, let's see, what should I do now? With all my knowledge, my experience, my skills, my awareness, what can I do now on this situation?
So good.
That is the power.
That is power.
That is the power, not in the event.
That's right. And I wanted to, I read a book, Eckhart Tolle, and this has become one of my new favorite quotes. And I share this quite often, that suffering is necessary until you realize it's not necessary.
Yeah.
How many times do we have a conversation with someone and they're upset about something and blah, 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 and you're just listening? Now before I would get kind of caught up in it, right? Oh yeah, I can see, Now I go, all I can see now is this story in their head, right? And they're just verbalizing because the mind expresses itself through the body, through words, through actions, through expressions, through emotions. So I'm listening to the story, but it's only in their head. It's only in their head. And I love on the second page, Jamel, I think it's the second paragraph, halfway down, it says, with the proper understanding, talking about responsibility, it has the power to free you from unnecessary mental weight that you may have been carrying around with you your whole life. Think about that. It has the power to free you from unnecessary mental weight. How many times do we, maybe we have some resentment or ill feelings towards someone, but this someone is not in our life. Maybe we saw them 10 years ago, and you happen to go to a party or you happen to go to something or their name comes up, and right away you get that, You've been carrying, even though your day-to-day life, you're not thinking of that person or that event or that situation, but it just happens to show up. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. That little feeling means we need to address this. We need to let this go. That's what that feeling is. You need to release the mental weight. Even though it's not in your day-to-day life, It is tucked away in the back of the closet. All right, that little resentment or whatever it may be, those ill feelings, somebody did you wrong, or there's something, but it's our responsibility to release that ourselves, forgive ourselves, and release it for good. I remember there was a situation, and I remember hearing someone, and this is a common phrase, I forgive them, but I will not forget. Interesting, right? It's such an interesting comment. Forgive means to 100% release it. Release it. I'm sure whatever the event or the person did, if they knew better, we'd hear Oprah used to say this a lot. If they knew better, they would have done better. Right? But if I remember it's like tucking it in the back of the closet, and I'm just waiting for that person to do that something very similar when I can go, aha, see, you've never changed. You've never changed. You're still the same. I remember, blah, 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 blah. And I find it fascinating how, because of the understanding, because we study, because we've learned about ourselves, we now are able to release things with the full understanding of why it's necessary, why it's important to us, because we're the only ones that are going to suffer from it, right? But it's the understanding of how this whole machine, how the universe works, and how we are a part of it, and all the tools that we have to create this life. But it takes an understanding. This is why we're sharing what we're sharing with everyone week after week, to help you develop this understanding. You're not a victim. You are not a victim. You are a powerful manifester. You're a powerful creator. And we've all been gifted the tools, regardless of where you grew up, how you grew up, and however your life has been up to this point. Each and every one of us has these tools within us. There is a power that flows to and through us and is surrounded around us. But if we don't know this, life becomes a hassle. It becomes a grind. It feels like it's coming at us and not working for us. But when you have this deep understanding, this is freedom. This is truly freedom. This is so liberating, because will things still happen? Absolutely. But now I look at it as like, oh, that's so interesting. This is just, it's like spice. You can't have everything beautiful, because there's the law of polarity. You must have contrast. It's a law. You have to have contrast. So now when contrast shows itself, I go, oh, this is interesting. This contrast is a challenge to me. This is how I look at it. This is a challenge to me. How am I going to respond? Or do I just let it go? Does it involve me? If it doesn't involve me, just let it go. It's none of, stay in your own lane, Lou. You don't need to swerve into someone else's lane, right? But this is freedom. This is really why, for me, life has just become so scrumptious, so delicious, because I feel like I get it now. Like I get it, right? So it's become a fun challenge.
Wow. You had something to say there,
Yeah,
Paul?
thanks, Jamal. Yeah, I said the same. We both said the same thing. Wow, because I love what Lou was saying there. And there was a couple of things there was something that Lou said, and there was something that Jamal said earlier. And like Lou said something really interesting, right? I will forgive, but I'll never forget. Like, what a thing to carry around. You're carrying around this thing in your back pocket. Why? For ammunition for later, but you're carrying it around. You know, as Lou said, you know, that person could be totally out of your life, and you choosing to carry that around. And Jamal spoke earlier about cowardice and courage. And we were talking about blaming, right? Blaming this and blaming that. The other thing we do a lot of is complaining. But you notice that we often complain to the wrong person. So you know, for example, you'll be in a social setting or something, and you'll be complaining about your boss, or you'll be complaining about your partner. You're at work and you complain about something your partner did, or you know, or you come home and you complain about something that someone at work did, right? So you're complaining to the wrong person. Whereas it takes a little bit of courage to, instead of complaining, you know, about my partner, about my boss, or something like that, why don't I just take the courage and, you know, sit down with my partner and say, hey, this is bothering me. Sit down with the boss and say, hey, is there something we can do to change this at the workplace? Because this is, you know, this is a challenge to me, or this is creating a challenge to me. I mean, you know, you can be politically correct in how you approach it and things like that, you know, but you are in control of your response, as Lou said. And, you know, when you take responsibility, it takes a little bit of courage, but now that it's a positive action, rather than me complaining about something that you can't do anything about. Why am I complaining to you about my mechanic? Why am I complaining to you about the painter? Why don't I just approach that person? I don't have to yell. I don't have to yell at you. I don't have to yell at that person, or yell at the mechanic, or yell at my boss, or yell at my partner. Doesn't mean I have to start a fight, but you know, so it takes a little bit of courage. But when you do, I mean, it's so freeing, right? You're not carrying all this crap around with you. And I wish I had a prop like Alicia has, a big bag of crap or something that I'm carrying around unnecessarily. And then I become a victim. And then then I start blaming and complaining, and I'm just big. And so
She had to find her crap.
That doesn't smell. That bag doesn't smell. But anyways, you know, it's stuff that we have to release and stop being such a victim, you know, and take action. And, you know, the complaining and the blame, blame game is done. You know, you have to take responsibility for, hey, you don't like something, change it, or do something, take some action to change. But those are two things that, I mean, Lou, I clicked something when she said something, and Jamel earlier when he's talking about, you know, courage or cowardice. So thanks for that. I'll give it back to Jamel.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I love this because I wish I had this material years ago. You know, I was in environments where I was surrounded by people that would complain all day about everything. You know, whatever, if it was work related, complaining about working, the amount of work they had, deadlines. They complain about the food. They complain about even we had like holiday parties. Oh, we didn't have shrimp this time. Like I was surrounded by this energy. It was so negative. But Luce said something very, very special. You know, then I didn't know that everything was happening for me and not to me. Mm-hmm. Now with this higher awareness, I'm able to look back and see that all these things that we all go through is shaping us to the version that we're seeking to be. Even unconsciously, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So our spirit wants to basically evolve and always get better and better to a higher state. And I didn't realize I attracted all this tension, all the negative environment. It was so bad. But for some reason, some days it would sink in and I was upset. I'll get quiet and then say nothing, or angry, and I wasn't my normal self. But over time, I realized, you know what? I have power. I have a gift to, like Alicia said, to accept or reject. And, you know, it's important for everyone watching is to take responsibility for not only your results, but your feelings as well. Feeling is the secret, because if you're paying attention to how you feel, that is conscious awareness of what you're thinking. So if you're feeling bad, that means you're probably thinking something bad. Oh, I gotta, you know, go here today. Oh, I gotta talk to that person. Like, your feelings always tell you. And the more you pay attention to how you feel, that's a gift right there. And taking responsibility of it. right? For people that complain, your words have power. If you're complaining about everything all day, what do you think you're going to get tomorrow? The same crap, right? So you're complaining about whatever it is. You're perpetuating. You're putting energy into something you don't want. This is why you want to bring that energy back to yourself and speak powerful words to yourself or to the situation. This is going to be a great call. Or that person that you need to speak to, that you need to confront, this is going to be a healthy conversation. There's going to be a great result with this. Whatever you have to speak into existence rather than speaking what you don't want. And, this is responsibility, but also awareness. And that's why I really hope this call helps a lot of people kind of see the key to freedom, which is responsibility. Because without it, what do you have? You're just another lost sheep, so to speak. Yeah.
I want to say something about Luz talk about the mental way that sometimes people have. And sometimes it's like people are more in just the weight of the body, working in the weight of the body. You want to release the weight, but they don't.
Yeah.
They need to release the weight of the mental weight that they have.
So true. Yeah.
Because it can help the weight of the body. And also something that I want to say is, I think that you also talk about this. I think that one of the reasons that we sometimes don't want to take responsibility or maybe are complaining is that we complain because we know that something is better, but we are not willing to pay the price. And also, we live in a delusion that life should be like, wow, everything will be easy. But the only way that is easy is when you are dying, the RME, or what is the name of when you put the heart, in the hospital. So the heart is like,
monitor, the heart monitor.
very like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Flatline. Yeah, flatline.
We live in a delusion that we expect everything to be easy, to know nothing, always be,
Paradise. Yeah.
And sometimes when something challenge come, then we start to complain instead of thinking, at least when I am in a situation that I am is not what I expect, I say, okay, what is the lesson here? What do I supposed to learn from this situation? And it's not easy to do that at the beginning, because you need to train and to practice. And I normally compare this like with a language. I came to Sweden, I speak Spanish, and when I came to Sweden, I could not Swedish. That make not me a bad person or an idiot or something like that. I just was not aware on how to speak Swedish. But now I'm here like 30 years, so now I can decide, can I talk Swedish or Spanish or English, or so it's like a language that we need to learn. And at the beginning is difficult, and I still find sometimes like, oh my gosh, I have my I have a blanket that I have my victim. When I want to be a victim, but I decide when I want to be a victim, and I put this to me and say, oh, now I want to be a victim, and I decide that. So that was that came to me.
Very good. I wanted to touch upon something. Well, a couple of things when you're talking about our words. And I think about someone that I talk to, and good person, funny. The words she chooses to use, frustrating, annoying, exhausting, and she puts such emotion into these words that every time, like every now and then when I talk to her, it's always some story.
Oh,
And she doesn't connect, what she spoke about 3 weeks ago when I talked to her to this latest event that happened.
mm,
But you see, and this is what awareness brings to you. You'll start becoming aware. Oh, when I use those words, especially when I put a lot of emotion into it, because yes, Jamel, right? Feeling is the secret. These events keep reoccurring, but you're not connecting them. We just think they just happen, right? And then something Alicia just mentioned about having life be easy, having it being paradise. How many people just want a beautiful life? This is the beautiful life. Hello? This is it. This is the beautiful life, but you get to choose it. Like I mentioned earlier, there has to be contrast. There has to be. You wouldn't know beauty if you didn't know ugliness or whatever, right? You wouldn't know what love was unless hate was there. But you get to choose all the time. See, the whole purpose of being a human is to have the human experience. And that is to experience love. That is to experience hate. That is to experience joy. That is to experience challenge, frustration. It's all part of it. If everything was lovey-dovey, la-di-da, then what's the point? Like I always say, we may as well be squirrels. Like, what would the point be? So we as humans get to experience it all. So when you look at it that way, say, oh, this is interesting. This is just part of my human experience. It takes it out of you. You get to look at something objectively, and then you get to make a decision. Well, what story do I want to give it? What meaning do I want to give it? And how do I want to respond to it? This is living a good life. This is living a beautiful life, but you're still going to have challenges because that's the whole point. It's the whole point. It's to keep every generation will be challenged with things to keep it progressing. That's the whole point. You get a challenge because now you have to think of a solution. And with every challenge, it comes a new solution, comes growth, comes growth. That's why life always goes forward. It never goes backwards.
yes.
This is why we stress about the point about having a worthy goal, keeping that goal top of mind to keep you stretching, to keep you thinking of new ideas and new ways to do something. So I just wanted to put in that last little bit. Jamel, Paul?
Yeah, this is so good, because responsibility is like the foundation of all of that, right? If you don't take responsibility toward your goal, for even having a goal, for even your feelings, responsibility, and a lot of people easily after this call can go right back to not taking responsibility, but taking responsibility right now. And speaking of that, I do want to share at the very end of the article, it talks about taking responsibility. It's very powerful. And, I want everyone to replay this a million times because you are responsible for all of your results in your life. You are responsible for your happiness, right? Remember, we talk a lot about feelings. You are responsible for your health. You are responsible for your wealth. You are responsible for your emotional state. Regardless of what has happened in the past, the future lies ahead with an open slate. waiting for you to take control and create a wonderful life for yourself. So, I'll just keep going. Winston Churchill, who certainly knew something about responsibility, said, responsibility is the price of greatness. I love that quote. And here's an affirmation that you can say every night. We'll share this here as well to help you. I am responsible for my life, for my feelings, for my personal growth, and for every result I get. I am responsible.
Amen.
And when you say that to yourself, you're claiming all that energy back, And if this really spoke to you today, and if our stories or any type of experiences are props, our energy, we're here to help you. And you have to take the responsibility of taking an action, especially if it's uncomfortable, because that's the growth that you seek. And responsibility, we don't care what happened in the past. This is a clean slate. It can start right now, especially if you want change and you want to grow. So reach out to any of us. We're here to help. As you can tell, we're very passionate about it, knowledgeable as well. But it's not about us. This is about the future and who you want to be and what you want to create or achieve, or the impact you want to have. Yeah. And, I always think about that too, because sometimes, speaking of responsibility, you have a responsibility to yourself and your family. So what are you going to create? Are you going to keep sitting still thinking about it, or are you going to take the responsible action? Don't let your old 2024 self stop your new 2025 self, because it wants to get out. It really wants to. So I just wanted to share those words there at the end because they're very powerful. Anybody else wanted to say anything, or we're going to go on to next Sunday?
I just have one more thing to say. So this is why coaching or mentorship is so important. All of us here, we couldn't do it on our own. We tried for decades. We tried to improve our life for decades on our own, but we all hired coaches at some point, because it's like the lawbreaker trying to create new laws. You're using the same mind that you've had for decades, the same thoughts, the same beliefs, to try to change them on your own, right? You need someone with a different perspective, a different awareness that can help and guide you. This is vital. I think, again, Paul is a dive coach. He's got different experiences that he brings to his students, right? We've all had mentorship and coaching, so we understand the value, because we were frustrated, we were aggravated, we knew there was more, but we couldn't figure it out. And we kept looking, we kept going on social media, we kept looking here and there, reading books, taking different programs, learning different strategies. But I think we can all agree we are all here because we have found what we believe to be the best material in the world, right? So reach out. If you're seriously looking to create different results in your life, reach out to one of us, because you need a helping hand for sure. You need a different set of eyes and a different set of beliefs and thinking in order to help you get out of your own stinking thinking, as we say, right?
There we go. And to reach out to us, all our call links are in the description, or you can just message us on whatever platform you're seeing this. So this has been another successful Coach's Corner, talking about responsibility, and we'll see you next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Bye, everybody. Utilize this information. Utilize it.
Bye-bye.
A great week.